Okay, so excretion is the removal of unwanted metabolic products. All the chemical reactions in our body, right? All chemical reactions in the body catalyzed by enzyme, all got products. Some products we want, like ATP we want, okay? Some products we don't want, like CO2 and water, we don't want, right? So those products that we do not want is called the waste. It's a metabolic, unwanted metabolic products are all called waste. So they have to be removed from our body. For example, CO2 from respiration, nitrogenous waste, okay, from breaking down of organic molecules. Why we have to remove the metabolic waste? Because they are toxic to our cell when they start to accumulate. So we have to remove them. So what do you mean by toxic to the cell? They may prevent the equilibrium of reaction to proceed forward. For example, respiration. Respiration, you want to produce ATP, right? But when you got a lot of waste product like CO2 and water, you know that it will actually prevent the reaction to move forward because every reaction got their own Ka value. You know Ka or Kc? Every reaction got a Kc value. You don't remove the product, how the reaction move forward? Correct? Okay, so therefore have to remove, or else you cannot get more ATP. Some of the products, right, you know, you learn about negative feedback inhibition, remember? The last product of the series of reaction in a pathway will become an inhibitor for the first enzyme of the pathway, the first enzyme of the pathway. So this might inhibit the enzyme. Example is for you to find out yourself. You can find out and put into your notes yourself, okay? Change in water potential of the plasma. Yes, when certain products are produced, they're soluble. Everything that's soluble, they can affect water potential, right? You produce too much urea that's soluble, so it will cause the water potential surrounding the cell to become lowered, right? Then a lot of water will come out from the cell becomes cremated, cannot function properly, right? Okay, so change the plasma pH. Some of the products are acidic, like lactic acid. Lactate, dissolve in water. Lactic acid becomes acidic, so pH affects enzyme activity. Right? pH can affect enzyme shape and therefore enzyme activity. Okay, so that's why we have to remove those unwanted metabolic products, which we call them as the waste. We have to remove them because they're toxic. And also make sure that you know the difference between excretion, ejection, defecation, secretion. Anyone don't know? Please find out the definition. Okay. Now here is, now we say that organic molecules usually got carbon, hydrogen, and then oxygen, nitrogen. Usually carbon, hydrogen, some of them got oxygen and nitrogen. So when we actually break down the organic molecules, the C and O becomes CO2, right? The H and O becomes water. What about the N? The nitrogenous compound can become ammonia or urea or uric acid. Okay, ammonia is the most toxic one, but the most soluble one. You go to lab, right? You open up the cap with the bottle with ammonia, you will suddenly have you tried before? Okay, ask your chemistry teacher. Teacher, can you please bring a bottle of ammonia? I want to smell and see. Really, if you do not know, or you know, when you urinate and forgot to like flush, and after 3 days you go to toilet, that kind of smell, or maybe 5 days, or go to public toilet and then that kind of smell. That's ammonia. Okay, so when someone wants to faint, just open the bottle of ammonia, put near the nose. Sure, wake up. Okay, that's very smelly, very toxic, very toxic, but it's very soluble. Urea is soluble, not so toxic. Uric acid is totally insoluble and not toxic. So usually our body produces mainly urea, but we actually produce ammonia first one. So let's look at how our body removes this nitrogenous waste from organic molecules. Here I've given you extra information. This ammonia, urea, and uric acid comes from excess amino acid. This is called excess, my short form. Excess amino acid. This is excess amino acid and ornithine cycle. Uric acid comes from purine. There's one more I didn't put up there. It's called creatinine. It's produced from creatine. Creatine is chemical in our muscle cells that store phosphate. Creatine is a chemical molecule in our muscle cell that store phosphate because our muscle cells need to contract, right? So therefore, it stores the phosphate so that it supplies the phosphate to ADP to produce ATP to ensure that there's always enough ATP for muscle contraction. So that's creatinine. Creatine. Okay, the waste product is creatinine. Okay, that is only introduction. The main part is this slide. Okay, in your syllabus is this slide only. Yeah. Now, urea excretion. Among the 3 types of nitrogenous waste produced by organism, it can be uric acid, urea, ammonia. For mammals, it's usually urea because our body got blood, right? So we got enough liquid. So urea is less toxic also for us to transport in the blood. So we produce in the form of urea. Okay, we produce nitrogenous waste in the form of urea, and it's produced in the liver from deamination of excess amino acid. That means amino acids that our body don't use. We don't want to waste it. We want to use the carbon skeleton for respiration, right? Remember? So we have to remove the NH2 group first by deamination. So this is our amino acid. So amino, because on the left side got NH2, acid because on the right side got the carboxylic acid. So amino acid, okay? So this part here can be the carbon skeleton that we can channel it to the respiratory pathway to fully oxidize to form ATP. So we have to remove the amine group first by deamination. Okay, so this is the process of deamination, and the product is actually the keto acid. So this whole thing here on the right side is the keto acid. That means this carbon skeleton is the keto acid. Okay, COOH is here, R is this one here. This whole thing is the R. So NH2 comes out as NH3. Okay, so ammonia and keto acid. So we produce ammonia first one, you know. But ammonia is so toxic that we have to actually convert to urea. It's very toxic because why? It reduces it increases the pH, right? It's basic. Ammonia is basic. So we have to quickly convert it to something else. So this keto acid, which is a carbon skeleton, can enter the respiratory pathway so that the energy in the carbon skeleton can be released to form more ATP. And then what happened to ammonia then? Ammonia will go through the ornithine cycle. Okay, it will enter the ornithine cycle where it will be added to CO2, which is a very wonderful process because you look at this diagram, which represents urea. It's a carbon with a double bond O, and then the other 2 covalent bond, each of them is holding a NH2. NH2, right? Correct, NH2. So it's like a person wearing a cap and both hands are carrying the NH2. So maximum NH2 that can be carried. And this is a urea. Is this a big molecule or small molecule? Small, right? If you join amino acid together to form protein, it's big, right? This is smaller than 1 amino acid, so it's small, right? It's small. So this urea, right, even though it's soluble in water, it is able to pass through the membrane directly, just like water, because it's not charged. Polar, uncharged, small, can pass through the phospholipid bilayer. So it's good. It's good because why? It will actually diffuse out of the cell and go to the bloodstream easily, right? I mean, carried to the kidney and removed from the kidney. Okay. So can you see our body is so well designed, right? And we don't even design it. It's like given you, like your father buy a car for you. Your father buy an iPhone for you. It's so well designed. You just use it only, right? Okay, but you have to take care of your car, right? You take care of your body also. Okay, so that it will service you very well. Serve you very well. Okay. Yeah. So why do we remove our nitrogenous waste in the form of urea? Because compare between the 3 types of nitrogenous waste, urea is less toxic, but it is soluble. And the molecule is also very small, so it can be easily carried around our body in the bloodstream from liver, where it's being produced, to kidney, where we will remove it. Okay. So what you have learned in today's lesson is the definition of homeostasis, the importance of homeostasis. Okay. The principle of homeostasis, which is stimulus response model and negative feedback mechanism, definition of excretion, importance of removing the metabolic waste from the body because they're toxic, and then deamination and the urea formation. So this is an example essay question. describe the principles of homeostasis, 6 marks. Describe the principle of homeostasis. So let's say, for example, nowadays they don't give essay, right? They give structured question. You know that structured question in past year, the maximum number of marks is how many marks? 5. Maximum mark for a structured question is 5 marks. So I can use essay. I just change the 6 marks to 5 marks. I can use it as structured question. Okay, so let's look at the answer. What will you write that you can score? These are the answers here. So maintenance. So principle of homeostasis. So it's a maintenance of a constant internal environment. Okay, so this is definition of maintenance of a constant internal environment or at a set point or reference point or ideal point or optimal level in order to increase stability and reduce disturbances of fluctuation despite any changes in external environment. First 3 are definition, right? You see that? Then followed by the rest are actually the principle. It involves negative feedback mechanism. First, it will need to use the receptor to detect the changes from the norm or from the set point. Okay, so to detect the stimulus. Changes from set point means stimulus, right? Okay, then you got then there's a transmission. So transmission is actually here. That means the signal is being transmitted by nervous system or endocrine system, coordinating between the receptor to coordinator to effector. Coordinating means working with different parts of the body, okay, to pass the message. Then we've got our effector, which can be muscle or gland that will produce the output. Output is correct. Output, which is actually the response. So you can also write response. So can you see these are all the important points that you need to learn because they'll be looking for this in your answer. So that's why when you study biology, it's not that difficult. It's that, do you know what are the points you're looking for? So these are the points you need to learn it up. Then you can do well already. Okay. So that's all for today.